Hey guys, it's Cora Ross and welcome to 6 News. So today we're going to look at the AMA with the Rainbow Six Siege balancing team. So this is a team that is completely dedicated to just balancing the game, and we've seen their work all the way through this year, and this is another little look behind the scenes to see what they're currently thinking about. Now of course we've had one of these in the past, and now we have one right now. So we're going to go in depth with all these answers. So let's start with this one that I find the most interesting. So the original question is about Alibi and Her Ability. So the dev team lets us know that adding cosmetics to the hologram is just not going to happen. It's technical limitations, and I can understand why. You know, it's a simple prop in the game, and adding all the different combinations of cosmetics would probably be impossible. So they don't want to do that. But they then end it with, but changes to other operators might make her prismas more appealing. Now this, I've got no idea what this is, and I want your theories in the comments below, because to me this is the most interesting. Because right now there's no defenders that really work with the holograms. There's also no attackers that really interact with it in any major way as well. Of course, we have operators that can disable or destroy them with their gadgets, but they don't really interact in a way that would make them more appealing. So how can the holograms get more appealing with working alongside one of these operators? Because right now, there's none of the defenders that this works with. There's not really anything you can change when it comes to the attackers to make them more appealing. Even if Thatcher's EMP did nothing to the holograms, it still wouldn't make the holograms more appealing overall. So this one just is very curious. And I wonder if it could be a clue to the Moroccan season. Possibly that there's a Moroccan operator coming, possibly on defense, that would do something to the holograms to make them better in some way. This is just so interesting. And like I say, leave your theories in the comments below and we'll see if anyone guesses it right. Now up next is the Ashe, Jaeger and Bandit. So these are seen as the most comfortable operators to play, and for the most part they've stayed away from nerfing them too much, and right now they haven't done much with them since then, but their pick rates are still really high. But we can see from the mentality of the dev team that, for instance, Ashe is the flagship of 3 speed, and she's actually known more for her speed than her breaching rounds. So this is a problem, I think, because they don't want to make Ashe less fun, but also because she's a 3 speed with a small hitbox, that's her main reason for getting picked and not for the gadget. And I think this is really bad, because an operator should be picked for the gadget and not because they have a small hitbox and they're fast. I think that mentality of keeping her fun because she's fast is not good. I don't like that at all. And obviously from reading this, it doesn't sound like they plan to nerf any of those operators, even though Ashe has a 70% pick rate in the recent season. I don't think they're going to touch her. And I get it, like if you made her a 2 speed, then she's going to get dropped down to like 30% pick rate, right? If you make her bigger, so she's got a bigger hitbox, again, she's probably going to drop down to like a 30% pick rate as well. But the problem is, I think, the fact that she's picked mostly for her speed and small hitbox is not a good thing. It really should be that the gadget is more important, and I don't think this is great. I understand where they're going. They're trying to make all the operators as fun to play as Ashe, Jaeger and Bandit, but that 3 speed should never be the focus of any operator's pick choice, I think. But yeah, there we go. That is it. I don't think they're going to be nerfing any of those operators for quite a while. So this is pretty interesting here. We have a comment asking about the castle buff, and unfortunately the dev teams let us know that this is in the pipeline, but it's a low priority. Now a low priority probably means 6 months away. When I got to talk to the devs in Paris, they let us know that Tachanka was a low priority, and they said it could easily take 2 years for his rework to get done. So if Castle is also now a low priority, we could be talking 6 months away easily, which sucks. I really want to see something for Castle brought in that really just mixes him up. And yeah, it's a bit of a pity, and it being a low priority, that is a real bugger to me. I would have loved to have seen that at least medium priority, getting them out and within a couple of months would have been really nice. So this question's about game modes, and the reply does not give us any indication of what they're doing, but the original question was casual and ranked are quite different, and of course in reality casual is actually probably the more try-hard game mode than ranked, and the dev team is indeed looking into it. We know they are kind of thinking about changing up casual in some way to really, I guess, try and actually make it casual but also make it more enjoyable. So yeah, I don't know if anything's going to get done with that anytime soon, but at least the dev team does agree that they need to change it up, and we'll just have to wait and see what they do. But I hope they do something with casual, because it really, casual just right now, it just doesn't work well. Does not work well at all. Now the next question is asking about Cav and any changes that are coming in the future. And the dev team replied by saying that they have tried some crazy things for Cav, but they're on hold right now because we think she's in a good spot. So it would seem that they're not currently planning to do anything to Cav, but it is interesting that they've looked into doing some different things. But yeah, it sounds like if there is any changes, they'll be years away. It sounds like Cav is kind of in a good place and they're enjoying where she is. So then we have a question about secondary full auto pistols, and so the question was the goal of the machine pistol nerf to make them unusable? So the dev team replied back saying machine pistols used to be used as primary weapons and we don't think that's a good thing. As for Echo, we believe he is in a good spot right now, and that is the case. In their graph, Echo's in a really good spot, and I'm surprised by that. Like, I've never seen him getting used that well, but he's apparently up there with the diamonds and plats doing very, very well. So yeah, from reading that, it doesn't seem like they've got any regrets about nerfing the machine pistols. We've had a slight buff to the SMG-11, but it's still not going to probably be as good as the primary weapons. And I kind of agree with it. Like, making the machine pistols even remotely a primary weapon, it should be a more of a panic weapon you pull out when you need it desperately, not for actually running around getting all the kills. So yeah, but that one will probably be quite controversial. So we've got a multi-layered question here. We've got the first one's about Capital, and they say, you're right, our goal is to find more ways to make him usable in all levels of play, while not increasing his potency in Pro League. So they do want to improve Capital in a lot of different ways, so he's more of a usable character, but no details, no timeline on that at all. They also want to address Finka as well, but she's not a super high priority. And now I don't know if that means that she is a high priority then. If that's the case, that could mean that changes to her could come within the next couple of months, but who knows? It's very vague, but they are certainly looking to change Finka. And then when it comes to Maverick, they do want to make sure that he feels like a fair fight, which is going to be hard, because even if he makes a lot of noise when he's burning blowtorch holes, there's always a good chance you're going to miss it and then just suddenly die because you just didn't know there was a hole somewhere. So that's going to be hard to get Maverick kind of balanced out correctly, I think. And it sounds like as well from reading it, they are kind of watching Maverick, but it doesn't sound like they're actually looking to change him. So this one's really interesting. They're looking to rework stun grenades in the future, but it might take some time as they're a very different gadget to other grenades. So that's good, because yeah, they're so unreliable, and you don't know, like, a character will still put their hands up even though they're not blind from a flash. There's no kind of way to know if an operator is blinded. And of course they say Lion is definitely on their rework roadmap, which we've seen in their blog post. They're gonna rework him completely, potentially, and he might be a completely different operator after it. They also mentioned that they're working on R&D for shields to address some of the issues, and they've learned a lot from Clash, and they want to keep exploring the idea where shields are non-lethal weapons, and that could be interesting. I'm very curious about how that might play out. Yeah, I'm super curious about how the non-lethal part, because would you somehow make blitz non-lethal with a shield, like maybe he melees you and downs you rather than kills you. That probably wouldn't really change much, but it is interesting. Or are they actually thinking about a future shield operator, maybe another one for attack that would have some sort of non-lethal shield? It's interesting. And of course, they're definitely still interested in shields. So this one is about Chichanka and Frost reworks. So they let us know that Chichanka is a big problem for the balancing team and very problematic. And like they told us in Paris that he could be years away from the rework, and he could get reworked so much that he just gets killed off and they replace him with another operator. So don't expect anything for Chichanka to change for like a year at least, easily 2. They also say Frost is very difficult to balance. They have looked into certain things like making her Frost mats take more damage from bullets and stuff, so you couldn't just vault in and shoot them. But then they also had the problem, if that was the case, then you might have no way to take out a mat on the other side of a window in certain areas, which would make it really hard to assault some objectives. So from the looks of it, they don't know how to change Frost right now, and they've not got any plans. Or at least that they are looking into it, but they haven't kind of settled on anything. So we're probably talking 6 months or more before we see any major changes for Frost. But that's a pure guess on my part. Now we have a comment about Fuze. Now this is really interesting because they say they are looking into reworking his gadget at some point. So that's interesting. That would be considerable. That would be quite amazing. I do wonder how they would go about doing it. Like, I'm thinking probably if they were to do it, maybe there'd be more projectiles, but they just do less damage. So kind of like what they did with Capcan, where they make his traps more risky to the attackers, but also do less damage. Maybe they would do something like that. But yeah, I'm curious. So they say also his kit is not great at the moment, and we need to change that. Now, I don't know if they mean, when they say kit, if they mean his loadout, so his weapons, or if they're just talking about his gadget. So maybe we could get some weapon buffs for Fuze in the future, or perhaps we're going to be getting just a complete rework of his gadget. Now, this is a question about IQ, and they say that they have no plans to change IQ. They seem to think that she's in a perfect position where she is, so they're not looking to change her at this time. Now, this is a really good question here. We have, what is the biggest mistakes you made while trying to balance an operator? And they say, basically, they just say Lion, Blackbeard, and Ela. So they're the biggest mistakes of Rainbow Six Siege. And of course, Lion came in with wall hacks, and balancing him out is going to be really hard. Blackbeard had a really strong shield to begin with that stopped headshots, and they've had to nerf him so much. And of course, Ela came in with this incredible SMG, huge, with an incredibly quick rate of fire, a massive magazine, not much recoil, and they of course had to nerf her as well. So yeah, they've made a few mistakes. Hopefully they've learned from those mistakes though. And then for balancing, they say that they've scrapped ideas that are not fun or are frustrating as well. So they do, obviously there's a major, this is a computer game, so they're majorly trying to make it more fun. So they're not just trying to nerf, and make characters crap. They're trying to balance them in a way that's fun and enjoyable. So you still want to play certain operators, but just, it must be a pain in the ass. It must be a pain in the ass to try and balance a game like this, especially one that just constantly keeps changing, with brand new operators coming in and completely changing up how the game is played entirely. And they say that a good counterexample of not doing that is Lion. So I think there's from reading some of these comments, it does seem like they kind of really regret Lion now, and like Lion has become this real pain in the ass that they're having to fix. So they're going to probably rework him entirely. I think they are going to probably ditch his gadget and just redo him and get rid of that problem, because he seems to have become a massive issue for them. And then the dev team also says that Lion and Frost are both very binary operators, so it makes them very hard to balance without reworking them. So that is kind of quite curious if we've seen from their blog post that they're going to rework Lion, and it could be quite dramatic, the changes. And that means, I guess, they might also do the same with Frost. It could be quite a dramatic change, but Frost is Rework. Sounds like it's quite a long way away if it ever comes. Now, this is a great little behind the scenes. So they let us know that every operator takes 9 months to create. So that's crazy. Because obviously that means that next year's operators are already in the works, and some of them could already be well on with development already, which is just amazing to think. Now, I don't know if that 9 months includes like concepts. So it could be like they spend 3 months doing concepts, or they might spend 1 month doing concepts, and then maybe another month they're going to do the visual looks of the operator, figuring out what they're going to look like, what their gadget might look like, and then they take it to actually putting it in the game in some way and then developing it further. So I don't know how that's kind of broken up along the 9 month period, but it does show that literally they are working on the next years of seasonal content already, which is just mental. They also say that they're starting to do PlayStation tests earlier, and we're putting heavier emphasis on test servers, which we definitely have seen. They've had quite long test server sessions recently. So this is quite interesting as well. So why do all the new operators feel so overpowered? And they reply with, we don't feel all operators that come out are too OP. And a good example is Parabellum. So I think that's perfectly reasonable. Parabellum was probably the most balanced season I've ever seen. Like Alibi and Maestro were perfect. Like even during the test servers, they didn't really need much tweaking. They were just bang on. They both had enjoyable weapons. They both had gadgets that were reasonably useful. And they never felt overpowered at all, but they felt fun to play. And of course, Alibi was one player's type of kind of gameplay, and then Maestro was a completely different type of gameplay for Defender as well. So they were pretty perfect. But also, we have to address that, usually the DLC operators are overpowered. Like more often, they are more powerful and they need nerfs afterwards. Whereas I think Parabellum is one of those seasons that's actually a rarity of a brand new season coming out and being really well balanced. Most of the time there's at least one operator that's just OP in some way. So I don't know if I agree with the devs' response to it. Now I've got this question in here because I noticed the devs very much dodged this, and that is when the first rework of an operator will come out. It's badly worded, but of course it's asking about the future, not the past. And the devs reply with, there have been a few already. Of course, that was not the question. It's about the future. And I think that was a really hard dodge. Now, this is something that's worrying me because since they stopped doing mid-season reinforcements, we haven't had a rework of an operator. And they said they were going to move that to the beginning of seasons, but then nothing's happened. We've not had any major reworks, and it's really slowed down. Even though we've got this dedicated team now that does balancing, the reworks have really calmed down and we haven't seen any in a long time. And this kind of dodging off the question makes me think that we might not see a rework for maybe a couple of seasons. Like if we do get one with the next season, with the Moroccan season, that would be great. Like a rework of Lion or Castle or someone, just one rework would be awesome. But the way they dodge this makes me think that it could be a little bit further away than that. I hope it's not, because like I say, we've not had reworks in so long. And I get it, they maybe don't want to rush it because like Glass came out with a rework and he was just OP. And that was a problem for sure. So I'm a bit worried that it might take a while to get actually some reworks in there. And that means the backlog of reworks is going to be a long time away, which I don't like. Next comment is about Smoke's Toxic Babes, and the reply is that yes, we agree that they're too inconsistent and they're not great. So they do want to make them more consistent, although they don't want to really have them as a concealment gadget. It's about kind of sealing off an area, causing some damage. It's not about actually concealing like regular smoke grenades, but they do want to make them more consistent, which is good. I think it does need a improvement. Sometimes you might think that person's in the smoke, but they're not. I would like to see that. Even a bigger area of effect would be cool. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do with smoke. And obviously they are looking at doing something, kind of tweaking them probably, which could come with any balancing patches in the future. Now we've got the question about Thatcher. So they let us know that Thatcher's rework is still in progress, it's still coming, and it's a very large rework. So it's going to take some time. I really do wonder what they're going to do with this, because obviously it doesn't seem like you can do that much with it. Of course, it's EMP grenades. It's like it's got to either destroy or disable gadgets, right? That's got to be how it works. So I do wonder what it is they're doing that's such a large rework that could fundamentally change how that gadget works. And it maybe just will not be disabled and destroyed. Maybe it will be something completely different. So I'm curious. But they do say it will take some time. That makes me think it's probably not coming with the Moroccan season. Maybe the season after that, perhaps. But it does sound like Thatcher must be one of the higher priority operators right now. And it must be coming, in a reasonable amount of time, I'm guessing. And they also say that it's going to impact many systems, which is why it's taking so long. So the many systems, I don't know, that could mean obviously just gadgets and all the different gadgets there is in the game. Or it could be that maybe his EMPs will affect other things other than gadgets. Who knows at this point? They're definitely not giving us much of a clue. So that's the end of everything I picked out from the AMA that seemed really interesting and made me very curious. But if you want to go read the entire thing, there's a link in the description below to go check out the entire AMA and see if you can pick out anything else that you find curious. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you next time.